All right, welcome to the latest edition of the FPL America podcast. This is David Smith.
Travis Hoig.
Bring back the Seattle Supersonics.
Brian, I hate that you spoiled that.
Brian Sheska.
Brian, I was going to go to you in this opening segment, and I think every week now you have such an amazing collection of T-shirts that it's just going to be, Brian, what are you wearing
Anybody
today?
that's watched or seen or been around this long enough has seen it before anyway, but
Maybe, but like stand up a little bit more. Yeah, it's
there you are.
It's the Rain Man.
Is that
the
Sean
Rain
Payton?
Man,
Sean
Kemp, for all you youngsters.
You're
one of the
thinking
greatest power dunkers of all
you're
time.
thinking Gary Payton
The
Not
glove.
Sean Payton. Yeah, that was
and
not
not
good.
Sean Payton.
The head coach. This is not an NFL or NBA podcast.
You're not. This is
they look really similar.
it's not a point guard podcast. This is a power forward podcast.
This is
and it's
that
Sean
is a
Kemp.
power forward on your one of
Until
the.
Vince Carter.
Sean Kemp was the dunker.
I don't know. Dominique Wilkins in game.
No, for sure. Yeah,
Dominique had some stuff that was like
in game.
what a
talking about?
freak.
I feel like
No.
I need to start the timer.
No, no, we're fine.
No,
Dominique was a freak. Sean Kemp. No one really dunked in, especially in games, harder than
I've
those.
said this.
Charles Barkley had a couple hard dunks in game.
Yeah, if Larry Johnson hadn't hurt his back, he might have been able to hang a little bit.
Sure.
But nobody did what Sean Kemp did in game.
He would like
Sean
windmill.
Johnson?
Until Vince Carter. And then
Right.
and now everybody can kind of do some of those things.
Yeah.
The point is, there's a lot of really great like places that are out there that'll do like player licensed stuff.
Okay.
And so you can go to, like, I've had stuff from we talked about Redbubble before. That's a place that does it. I'm sure plenty of Etsy places will do it or whatever. People
Right.
that screen
Redbubble
print or do
is
graphic
one of our
design and stuff
sponsors
like
this
that.
year.
I wish that they were. But like yeah, there's a few places. Homage is one of the best that
Amish?
Homage, not
Homage.
Amish. HOMAGE is one of the best for like.
Is that homage?
I think
Yeah.
it's homage.
It depends where you're from. It is definitely niche. It is not
Is that
niche.
niche? Oh, okay.
No. Well, it can be, but
The English
only
language
because
is
of English.
truly-
The whole point. The point
Oh, what?
is
You disappeared. Where'd you go?
Yeah, brother's calling, but I put on Do Not Disturb.
the
So
point
he must
is
have double dialed me.
this is already too
He
much
did.
talk
He
about
must need you
T-shirts.
badly.
The fact is that there's a lot of places that make stuff like this, but either way, Sean Kemp and the Seattle Sonics are missed.
All right. Awesome. And I love how every week you have, I never know
He
which
stopped caring.
amazing T-shirt you're going to be wearing.
Okay, cool.
Okay, cool. Listen, so much to talk about. We're going to dive into it really quick. We have had the first week of games, and so fantasy-wise, we learned probably some things that probably confirmed what we had already thought, and we're going to discuss all of this and then the changes that possibly you may or may not need to make going into the next week. We'll start here, though. As we dive into this, I'm going to go through and just at the top of the pod here mention a couple things. Number one,
Do you want our code?
yes, Brian, give the code right now.
Oh, I should have.
Do you have it?
Figured that out.
Yeah, the code.
The code to
I
our
can say
podcast
it.
league. We haven't
N.
said it enough.
I memorize it.
November, Mike.
N1 UED.
November Mike 1 U as in the letter U.
Yeah, come on, what's the rest of them?
I don't remember what
can't
U is.
Start
Echo.
on
Umbrella. It's umbrella.
Umbrella?
It's
Umbrella Echo.
Umbrella.
It's umbrella Echo Delta.
There you
Got
go.
it.
All
November,
right.
Mike.
November Mike 1
Umbrella.
umbrella Echo Delta.
Yes.
Okay. We have not said that enough. I want to apologize to everyone. I'm looking at the camera. I apologize. I'm not going to say the apology, but I am going to apologize for not bringing that up enough. Now, obviously, you can find us. Many of you listen to the podcast, okay? You listen to us on Spotify, maybe SoundCloud, Apple Podcast. What was it? There was a one that I think people still use. It wasn't Switch. It was
MySpace.
no, it was not MySpace. Anyways, but almost any
We're on?
platform,
Oh, yeah, we're definitely on there. Tom's
almost
our friend.
any platform that you can listen to podcasts, we are there. We are also, and we haven't probably talked about this enough. I know we have, but probably not enough, especially at the beginning of this season. We do have a YouTube page. and you can watch us. Now, look, Brian has always said, I'm not sure why anybody would actually choose to listen to us. I would go so far as to say, I'm not so sure why anybody would want to watch us. But we are on YouTube. Travis has put a ton of work into making it kick some major.
Yeah.
Where's my beep?
Yeah, go ahead.
Kick some major. And so I just want to throw it out there. Our YouTube page, FPL America. Type it in. It is boom there, and every single pod is there. You can not only listen to us, but watch us. So whatever medium you like to consume podcasts, again, listen via pod and or watch. I'd love for people to start watching. Also, Twitter. I think we're going to try to be a little bit more active. Travis is like, I don't know if I can do that. We'll see.
We'll see.
It takes a lot. It takes a lot, and we do all have day jobs, and so it's tough to be super active on Twitter, but we do like to. But it's FPL_America is our Twitter handle as well. All right.
It is.
And it's X. I know, but let's be honest. It's Twitter. Brian was like seething in his Sean Kemp shirt as I said Twitter.
It's Sean Payton.
There's enough hatred of X.
Okay.
I think it can.
I think it's Twitter. If we just keep calling it Twitter, it stays Twitter.
That's right.
All right, Travis. All that being said, let's jump into.
Well, that's his line.
What are we even here to do?
I don't know.
Ryan, we're here to talk about the
game week
right?
1 is over. Game week 2 is coming. What we need to talk about is, I think the specific question that this podcast is setting out to answer is, do any of the things that happened this week change your thinking about your team setup as it is right now? Because you said you learned some things, and you learned probably either that you liked your score, you were okay with your score, or you wanted to throw your whole team out and start all over again.
Right. Yeah, those are the options.
I think that is the options. That covers it every single week.
Yeah,
the entire time that you're in.
Right. It's always the options. They never
bringing
change.
it all together.
Yeah. So no matter what, those are the questions every single week. But I think specifically you're going to answer some questions about Haaland and Salah. I think you're going to answer some questions about, or ask yourself some new questions about the other premium players that you have. And then I think this week was really great for these middling options, the low to mid price options who did well. And
we're going to bury that till the end of the
forcing you to rethink the way you have things set up right now. So let's talk about Arsenal first.
All right, I'm starting your timer. We're going to go 90 minutes.
By the way, you can see our timer.
Oh, it's there.
On our YouTube page. Obviously, you're not going to see it via the sound waves if you're listening, but we are going to have time segments. Try to stick to it. We're going to have 8 segments a week, and we're going to try to stick to it, right? We're going to try to. We're doing our best.
Did you add this to this section's injury time? This intro here?
No, I did. I just didn't start it until I knew we could stay under 90 minutes.
All right. The point is, Dave, your team smacked this week.
It was fine.
I think you were a bit lucky not to concede one.
Yeah, for sure.
But
there was some turnovers we probably deserved to be scored on.
Well, I mean, Zinchenko was on the field, so
ironically, it wasn't him making the passes. I would love to bang on him. It wasn't Z making the passes. It was Partey and Saliba were making the unfortunate passes.
Saliba was the one who almost gave it away.
Yeah,
but Raya saves you. So here's where we are with this. Okay. First of all, just off the top, your upcoming schedule at Villa this weekend, then home to Brighton, then the break, I think, is after that, before the North London derby, or is it after? I'm not sure how the schedule works out there. But either way,
3 games and then the break.
Either way, 3 of your next 4 are on the road, and that is Aston Villa away, home Brighton, at Spurs, at Manchester City. So this is exactly why so many people were hesitant to bring your players in, and I think I would say
it is a daunting schedule. It's not an easy schedule.
Right. It's not the best possible way you can start, but again, I just think it's worse for Raya and Gabriel Saliba Ben White. I think it's worse for the defenders and goalkeeper. Havertz and Saka train full steam ahead. Saka and Havertz, 2 of your top points getters this week. So if you had one or both of them, you feel pretty good.
Can I give you? I got an interesting stat about Havertz.
Yeah, go ahead.
Havertz last year and into this year, obviously one game into this year, but last season and this season, he started at striker in 14 games.
Mm-hmm.
In those games where he started as striker, 17 goal involvements.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw that. Sky Sports had that.
Absolutely.
Had that bit.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then they did you see the second page there? Even when he was starting in midfield and when he was starting with striker, he was exceeding his XG. So in other words, he was doing more with less is what he was doing. His XG was like 7.36 and his goal involvements were actually 9 or whatever the stat was, but bottom line, he was exceeding that. I just thought that was interesting. I had not seen that yet, and I didn't realize how effective he has been in the striker role.
Saka, third most transferred in for the game week, now up to 33.3% for the game. I
don't understand.
Saka's Saka, so I guess
it's going to be, I mean, look, it's always whoever scored the most points, right?
No, I know that, but I guess what I'm saying is, this might even be more than you expected from Saka in game one, given the question marks from all of the so-called, just the late returners from Europe. So Saka's one of those guys.
He was
right.
Late
so Cole Palmer obliterated that. Saka kind of did. He did come off, but he still played a majority minutes.
Right.
Gets you a goal and an assist.
Right.
So to me, there's not. I mean, Saka. For me, I think Arsenal is the best team in the league. If
I think
this season, I think they are.
I really do think they are this season.
After one game week.
No, I just think coming into this season, it's like it is back to like a 2-horse race again. There's the hope that somebody else can challenge, but too many question marks around Liverpool. Whatever. Anybody else?
Are Spurs ready?
Pretty much everybody.
And
Question
Villa,
marks.
Anybody else you throw in there, you're like, I don't know. But it's back to City and Arsenal is like the 2-horse best team race. So to me, this was like a no-brainer of I wanted 2 at least. And I did not. I ended up taking Havertz out of my team, which I regret. 3 bonus points for Kai Havertz, 12 points for the game week. Like you said, goal involvements. But Dave, this is your thing, right? This weekend, like you said, even with substitutions, he shifts.
Right. He doesn't come off the pitch.
He doesn't come off. So Saka will come off. Odegaard will come off.
Yeah.
Eventually.
Anyone else seems to come off at some point except him. So
the new signing that hasn't been announced yet, Mikel Merino, will give Arteta probably a little bit more flexibility to when Kai comes out. If, let's say Jesus comes in, he doesn't shift him back. That guy Merino might actually, because
is he an attacking center mid? Is that what he?
Yeah. I mean, he's going to be coming in. I think so Declan doesn't have to play 50 matches, and then when Kai comes in, he's that type of. He led La Liga in every single midfielder category other than scoring and assisting. So look at pass percentage and dribbles,
other than the ones that matter.
All the things that make teams go, you Doomis. All the things that make
I just
teams
thought you had to
go.
score to win.
Right.
I mean,
I know.
Here I was thinking.
Scott would have say, look, points are points and goals are goals. Anyway, so but my point has always been this, and Arteta's been solid with this, and you just said it. Havertz stays on the pitch.
So all the Jesus consternation in the preseason turns to nothing. Havertz starts, gets a goal and an assist himself. The question for me isn't why. It's not why is he only 15% selected for the game, but I think the more important question is, should he be the number 1 selected forward? Number 1. Not Haaland, not Isak, not anybody else. I am dead serious. Why not number 1?
I don't think enough people. I didn't know that when he started in the striker position, he had been that successful. I did not know that. I didn't know those numbers until I saw that from Sky Sports. So
are you moving from, say, Isak to Havertz at this point?
No, I think everybody's debate is after this week, because there's still a really high percentage that have Ollie Watkins. So he may be even on sales, Watkins is still going to be significantly more selected than Havertz is.
As of recording, Watkins is still 33.6.
Has anyone dropped yet?
No, it's going to be it's Kwanzaa and
Only one person has dropped.
Okay. All right.
And it was, can you guess? Do you know who it was?
Kwanzaa.
No.
Kwanzaa didn't drop?
No. The only price change that I am reading right
Ivan
now.
Toney.
Jadon Sancho.
Okay.
That is impossible.
So good. I
and
love
that was,
the price changes.
And that was over. That was
probably 10
yesterday.
minutes.
That was last night.
Right.
The question,
Anyways.
I'm saying that more people have Solanke, more people have Joao Pedro, and Joao Pedro, the price difference is there.
Right.
What I'm saying is that he's 15%. That's extreme. That's exceptionally low for somebody who, like we said, moving to the position he's currently in last year. I get it was midfield points. He still is a top 4 player despite fewer minutes than most of the other people who played in that position. And I'm saying we are saying, and I don't know who would disagree, that Arsenal is either 1 or 1A this year. He is the striker for Team 1 or 1A.
Right.
In a team that is one of the best defensive teams in the league and an extremely efficient attacking team.
And good on set pieces.
Right.
So
within
he
the last
scores
2
a
years.
headed goal in the game.
Right.
So do you want Havertz or Watkins in the Arsenal versus Villa match?
I guess this is where the Haaland ownership messes you up. And so to me, like I made and we can talk about this when we get to it's more appropriate for Liverpool, but my calculated decision was to take Havertz out basically for the money because I was thinking of City coverage for game week 2. So I have $2 in the bank. That $2 came from Havertz to Muniz. So instead of starting Havertz, Solanke, and Isak in this game week, it was starting all of 5 of my midfielders, benching Muniz in the game against Manchester United,
Which is fine.
and saving the $2. So score ended up being just fine.
Yeah, I was gonna say you're leading the mini league,
right? But what I'm saying
place?
is instead of Nkunkwho or Morgan Rogers, Morgan Rogers. It was Villa.
Mr. Rogers.
Not Mr. Rogers.
Just call him Mr. Rogers.
No, because it was Morgan Rogers. Instead of a 1 or a 2 from those guys, it would have been Havertz's points. Because that was my calculated decision was I want to save the money for Foden in week 2. And now I'm like, why am I not? Because that's one of my major decisions for the week is, do I just go back to what I had in the first place? Muniz back to Havertz.
Right.
Who cares about this? I don't care about this schedule.
Right.
Like that's one
so,
of, and we can.
Travis,
there's other decisions there.
Getting back to your answer, I would rather have Havertz than Watkins in this match.
I think that's fair, especially given what
I'm saying this match. I think the question for everyone has been.
Well, I have a decision to make.
Has been Ollie Watkins, because everybody has said once they get past Arsenal, that's when the Villa schedule opens up.
Very nice.
Watkins has also integrated fully back into the team.
I have a decision.
Probably in 90 minutes.
What do I do with? I went from I had Watkins, and for this match week, remember I had Watkins and Palmer, and I sold obviously before the match week started. I brought in Bruno and Havertz in their place. Well, now I'm like, okay, do I is Havertz right at the moment greater than Watkins? I don't know. I'm telling you right now, Watkins has some competition. That Duran guy comes in for him and looks really good.
Well, I don't think
Duran's not going to be taking his spot.
No,
Yeah.
I think the question, like, because I was at least one Aston Villa account that I saw asking the question of what happens to Morgan Rogers because he looked really good.
Morgan Rogers looked really good.
Ollie Watkins is not coming off going forward.
So one of them is going to.
Right. So the question of, does this attack look the same?
Right. Well,
is Leon Bailey injured?
Look,
is he?
No, Bailey played. Bailey played. Bailey was banging posts.
He was laying on the ground for a while, so that's why I asked.
This is not an Aston Villa. This is not an Aston Villa segment, but the point is,
yes, all right.
I'm saying for the way that you're making up your front three, like Havertz and like if you're debating, because the debate for a lot of people seems to have been it's going from Isak to Ollie Watkins in game week 3, like sacrificing Isak because he's only 0.5 different.
Right.
So that was the move.
Yeah,
I'm saying like if your front 3 is Havertz,
Isak,
Watkins,
well, that's really
Solanke
healthy.
or whatever.
Yeah.
Or whatever, or Joao Pedro or Chris Wood or however you're setting up your third striker, like you can easily do that
Right.
this second.
That's right.
Based with probably just 1 or 2 moves, depending on how you shuffle things.
The other thing I'll say this about Havertz, he doesn't get many yellow cards. I know that sounds silly, but in this new bonus point structure, yellow cards are way more penalized players. So pretty much if your guy gets a yellow card, he's not going to be getting bonus points. And so it doesn't matter what else they've done in the game, and maybe unless you had a quarter pounder. But other than that,
he did get a fair bit last year.
Did he?
He got 11.
11 yellows?
11 yellow cards.
In my face. That's Jack Colback territory.
It is. It doesn't feel like he gets them. Maybe that's what. Maybe
he's so
that's
calm about it. I don't know. He never gets fiery, Travis.
What I was gonna say for the schedule, because I think opening fixtures difficult. Like you're seeing red in multiple cases. We've already talked. We talk forever. Every week we could talk about the color coded
and how
matchup rating system.
Reliable
I just think if you put off your decision to get any of these guys because of that, like I don't know what to tell you. Like this was a perfect example of like you knew Wolves kind of expected Wolves to not be great. And then I would just say for Villa this weekend, game week 1, Aston Villa and West Ham. West Ham had 14 shots. So that's not bad. I imagine Arsenal can match that.
Probably.
West Ham had an XG of 2.65 against Aston Villa, managed to only score 1. Thomas Souček himself could have won, at minimum tied the game, if not won the game for them.
Really close.
And now I would just say, remember that Arsenal had 18 shots against Wolves. So like, I'm not saying Wolves are Villa. I'm not saying Arsenal's gonna walk into Villa Park and just steamroll them. We know that we've already said
I don't think that's going to happen.
Tricky fixture it was for them last year. I'm just saying, like, this is not a juggernaut defense. This is not a juggernaut team. It is way more about Unai Emery versus Mikel Arteta and about their tactics and how they set up against each other.
And he bested Arteta. I said it before the season. I think the fact that they were able to do with Wolves what they did and not get blurred by the week 2 matchup at Villa, I think is completely.
That's your 15-minute warning.
Professional, but in other words, we took care of business. But I'm telling you right now, their eyes have been on Villa.
I just think that I feel like it's been such a change in perspective for attackers versus defenders in these tough matchups. I am way less concerned about the attacking players in heavyweight matchups than I am about the defenders. I will bench Gabriel this week. I will not. I will.
Interesting. I'm not benching Ben White.
Based on the other players that I have, I like the matchups better. I will put Gabriel in my first bench spot. Right. But given the matchup, I will not bench Saka. Right. And if I had Havertz, there's no way I would bench Saka.
I got you. By the way, Brian, you turned in a 79, third most in our podcast league. I meant to mention this earlier. Travis, bear with me. Haven't Jota a clue? Jota a clue. Haven't Jota a clue? League Mike. Turned in leading the podcast league with an 84.
Fantastic.
I want to just look at his team. Of course, he captained Salah. Yeah. The people in the mini league, there's 3 people ahead of me, and they all captained Salah. And the fact that I wasn't completely destroyed by my captain pick, not picking Salah because I don't own him, I felt like it was somewhat of a win.
Yeah.
But excellent team. Porro, Burns, Saliba, Garnacho. That's crazy. Garnacho and Doku. I wouldn't have expected that. Salah, Jota, Isak, Pedro, Haaland, and Alisson as goalkeeper and Porro. So, hey, no bench boost. 84. Congratulations, Lead Mike.
Really
well
good.
Done.
Dave, let's stay in the front of your team. What if you have Odegaard? I was honestly surprised he's at 15.4% selection.
You were thinking that was more than you would have thought.
Oh, way higher.
Yeah, that's pretty high.
No, I mean, look, he plays every match, and I feel like in the matches where Saka never seems to score back-to-back weeks, so it'll be Odegaard's week probably this next week. I don't know. It's always like they seem to switch weeks and when they score.
Yeah, I was gonna say in a perfect world, do you find and you have the extra 1.5? Do you go straight to Saka
For what?
for Odegaard?
For Odegaard.
Perfect world in a vacuum.
Yes,
How else
perfect
do you want
world.
me to
So
say it?
okay, here's a question: if I have Odegaard and my monies are spent elsewhere, let's say I have Salah and Haaland, and I went for a cheaper Arsenal midfield and Odegaard, I'm not doing anything with him. You keep him.
Okay, that's what I was gonna say.
Right.
In real life, you're holding Odegaard and you're putting out other fires that are more.
Oh,
perfect.
100%.
Okay.
Just because you didn't get production this week, again, I said it before this year started. The guys who didn't produce this past week will produce this week.
Well, and we talked
Or
about
we'll
it. I mean,
be
I
close.
can't point everybody back to season preview stuff, but just last season, that my argument for Saka as the far and away the first choice and find a way to get to him was because even creatively, where Odegaard was better, he was 10 chances created better. So Odegaard went for 101. Saka had 91 chances created.
Gotcha.
So it's a difference of 10.
Over the season,
Over
not
the-
that much.
Right. That's what I mean. And then big chances created, it was 17-14, Odegaard to Saka. So even in the best scoring chances created, they're so close.
Yeah.
So I just feel like what you get from Saka is so far and away better.
Yeah.
Like comprehensively, not
Yeah.
to mention penalties, but whatever. I mean, Odegaard's still an unbelievable player. In the
All right.
back of Arsenal,
Yeah.
this shouldn't take too long, Dave. You get a clean sheet. Everybody gets clean sheets, whatever.
Clean sheets all around.
Would you? So
By the way, did you see how advanced Ben White was in multiple plays in the box?
I did. I was gonna say,
Like he was in the box looking to take shots at the top of the box.
there's not much to say about Saliba. I think my favorite part of Saliba and Gabriel and even Ben White, just that Ben White, everybody gets a 6.
Right.
So in the end, everybody gets a 6. One of my favorite things is I saw a few people kind of victory lapping that Saliba was leading the bonus points of the defenders, only for the next day for the bonus to change, and Raya got it.
Yeah.
So Raya gets the 1 bonus, and
Sure.
Saliba, Gabriel, Ben White, Zinchenko
Next
all
day?
get a
Was
6.
it next day, really?
It was later.
That's ridiculous.
It was way later.
That's ridiculous.
After the
Saliba
stats
was,
came
I mean,
in.
but Saliba was a few bonus point system points ahead of the other defenders, so I guess there is that. But honestly, if it wasn't for Raya's save, we
Right.
wouldn't be talking about
That's
that.
correct.
You'd probably be trying to figure out whether or not you should sell Saliba and Gabriel and go to Gavardio, or
Maybe, but not really.
Anyway, Dave, Urian Timber, 21 minutes off the bench, not bad, I guess. Took a shot, with just for comparison, Ben White
Passed sideways like 900 times.
Ben White took 2 shots. Gabriel had 1 shot. That's the total number of shots for your Arsenal defenders. No one on the defense created 1 chance. But final third passes. Zinchenko, 15. Ben White, 12. Timber, 4.
In 22 minutes.
Yes. Touches in the opposition box. Zinchenko, 3. Gabriel, 1. No other defender, any, except Timber, with 3.
Mm-hmm.
So in 21 minutes, he matched Zinchenko for touches in the opposition box. And then
But he wasn't driving into the box. He was receiving passes and then passing it back.
I think that's, so there's
Being a
2
hater,
things.
Travis.
I'm just saying, like,
You're
it wasn't
just saying
meaningful
stupid
touches.
things.
How long? I mean, Zinchenko's not the guy for you.
No, and he knows it. Everyone
Yeah.
knows it. I just don't know who it is. I'm guessing it looks like it's going to be Timber.
Okay.
I'm guessing, but I'm going to be honest. I was shocked. I mean, I was getting mocked a little bit in the Slack about, where's Calafiori? Here comes Timber.
Yeah.
Fair. Like look, I don't know. I said I knew it wouldn't be Zinchenko. Preseason pod, I said I knew it wouldn't be Zinchenko moving forward. I didn't know who was going to be coming in next.
Is it a consequence of Wolves sucking and Arsenal having the
that's-
game in hand?
That's the question.
No, Zinchenko almost always would come. Even when Tomiyasu was there, Zinchenko
Oh, no,
would
no,
come.
I
Right.
mean,
Zinchenko
we-
almost never made it 90, right?
Right.
So
last season, he almost always subbed off at around 60 minutes or so.
That's right.
and it was someone. It was Kiwior, it was Tomiyasu, whatever, and then he lost the spot for a while, and then he sort of got it back again, I suppose. But I guess my question is, if you see Timber starting once, would you make a move?
If I could get yes, because he's $1 less than Ben White. He'll be the cheapest way into the midfield, and I can promise you this: he's going to add value.
Yes.
No one's talking about Martinelli right now. He will add value on the left side to Martinelli, as Ben White. Whether people realize or not, add value to Saka.
I'm also just knowing what we know of Arteta and the way he seems to like the way this has gone is kind of like you get in there, and as long as you maintain.
Yeah.
You never leave.
Yeah. Right. No.
You do not come out.
Yep.
Until you need a little bit of a rest.
Yep. No, he is
All right.
he is consistent with that. If again, well said, if Timber starts this week and you happen to have a free transfer and you want to get cheaper, you want to make money for the following week to spend, go from an Arsenal defender down to Timber at 5.5.
Yeah, I mean, I guess
it is 5.5, right? Am I crazy?
Yeah, he's 5.5.
Okay.
No, he is 5.5, and that's why I was going to say, like, maybe you don't. Even if he does, maybe he starts Villa, whatever. Maybe by week 3, maybe it's against Brighton.
Sure.
But either way, like, even then, you still don't necessarily have to do anything because then it's Spurs and City in weeks 4 and 5.
Or for those people,
after that, though,
right? For those people, like, well, I already have 3 Arsenal people, but if you have 2. And you have a Pedro Porro, and you find out after this week that like he's going to be out for a little while. Once you know Timber's starting, it's worth a look. Travis, we're overtime, correct?
Only by about 15 minutes.
Stop.
It's just that this is
it's fine. We just got to make it up elsewhere.
This is a
No
should
one wants
you
to hear
triple
Brian
up on
drone
them
on.
team.
Yeah, you should triple up on them. Right
And so
now.
that is why
and I don't care what their schedule is.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
There's nothing wrong with anything that's been said. No question.
Okay.
All right.
That's fine.
Move on.
That's good.
Next, Travis.
Liverpool is your next item. You wanted to talk about something to do with Mohamed Salah. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, I got scary problems. Like seeing Haaland almost do something. Did a little bit of something, but didn't like do a lot of something. Salah do something. I had some Jota coverage, but like I survived this week, but it was nervy, man, not having either one.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
You see what I'm saying?
I was like, what are you talking about?
It was a little now look, I turned in a 70, and a lot of people would bite your arm off for a 70.
Yeah. It was a great score.
So I'm not complaining here, but daggone it, like I was like I felt like my margin for error. Now here's the thing. I have, I've already brought Palmer back in my team. So my transfer this week has been sell Bruno Fernandes, bring Palmer back in.
Wow.
And I just
not many people can do that one.
That's a lot of money. That's a big difference.
It was $2.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I had 3 in the bank. I had saved it. to start with.
What would you rather have, the score you have and the amount of money you have, or a 70 and $3?
Definitely the latter, right? I mean, come on.
My plan was after week 1 was to bring Watkins and Palmer back.
Or would you rather have a 79 and $2?
You know what's really annoying is
I don't know.
You got me by 9 points again. Like that's what you won the title on,
good.
9 points, and you start off 9 points ahead. That's brutal. Anyway, so but it makes me nervous.
I understand what you're saying.
It makes me. Now there's going to be weeks where Salah and or Haaland are not pointing, but man, when they both do, boy, it just doesn't feel like there's margin for error.
Yeah.
Really almost anywhere. I needed Havertz to turn into 12.
Yeah, like we've
said. You know
said.
what I'm saying? Like, now, Isak didn't do anything this week.
Podcast motto has been,
Heung-min Son didn't do anything for me this week.
No one's essential. You just have to get extremely lucky with everyone else.
Yeah.
So that's true, but hear me out here. Isak didn't do anything.
Right.
Son didn't do anything. Bruno Fernandes, who is now cold Palmer, didn't do anything. So I had 3 guys that still didn't do anything, and I still was able to, for the most part, survive the week without a Haaland or Salah, and my captain pick just barely got me something. I think my captain pick was Isak. He got an assist.
Now that it's too late for him, if you were in the same spot, would you have gone Bruno Fernandes to Cole Palmer, or would you have gone Son to Salah? Because I think I would have gone Son to Salah.
I could have.
Tottenham looks pretty good.
It's now
Son
cooked.
is just not. Yeah, that's
it's now
interesting.
cooked. I could have.
tough.
No, I understand both things. I think for me, it's that Liverpool
interesting.
has a no worries except Arsenal in game week 9 schedule until October 27th, which is part of the reason why I was in the end.
That's why. Well,
I went
you
no.
have Salah.
I went no Haaland, and I went Liverpool triple up.
Yeah, I think early season Liverpool is probably a good pickup, similar to the way that Ange Ball came in, just blew the doors off everybody. I have a feeling that's kind of the way that it's going to go. Not that it's going to get sustained, but that does seem reasonable.
Yeah.
No, Brian, it's a good point.
No, but the other part of it is you're not wrong, because game week 1 was the bad Chelsea game. It's game weeks 2 through 8 or whatever it is.
Do you trust that Chelsea's going to improve?
That are good.
We're not.
Yeah, but we said the same thing last year, and Cole Palmer.
It's the difference is it's all the peripheral. It's all of this extra that they have, and Cole Palmer's not part of that.
Yep.
The only thing that can happen to him is that he gets shuffled around, or they try to figure out like where these other guys need to fit. But I feel like you need to start with Cole Palmer and then figure out where everybody else goes around him. So that's the difference. Cole is I wish I had the money to make Nkunkwho turn into Cole Palmer.
Also, he got shafted in the he's not up for the award in the Premier League Player of the Year.
Well, he got Young Player of the Year though.
He got whatever. There's some awards. It's all over.
He won Young Player of the Year.
But there was things like he's not up for something, and maybe he feels slighted.
Back to Liverpool. Luke, one of my favorite follows. I think he's fantastic. Dis FPL on Twitter.
FPL who?
One of my favorite tweets of the week. Salah looked far too wide to me when he assisted and scored. A fantastic, to me, wrap up of the discussion from the summer.
Yeah.
The last thing we talked about last week.
Travis, you said that.
The question that everybody had on their mind. So Travis, the questions are for you. Was this more about Ipswich, or is this Salah getting warmed up? Like, is this him like getting into a flow already, or was this like game week 1 Salah because he does this every season, and then now it's a little bit less or whatever?
I think it's a little of column A, little column B. I think Ipswich wasn't ready for the Premier League fully. I think that's probably not unfair to them. They weren't poor.
Half
they weren't poor, but they were outmatched in the second half. And Liverpool should have scored significantly more than they did. It was just their inability to capitalize on big chances, which...
Yeah, I was going to say, Salah and Jota, 2 big chances each.
Jota easily should have had 2 goals.
Right.
Goals.
So both of them credited with 2 big chances each.
So on that side, I would say, yes, Ipswich is probably the primary factor. But to that earlier point, Salah is going to play wide. He's going to continue to play wide. He scored because he got basically a breakaway, and he came narrow to take the shot, right? So I think the majority of Salah's points are going to come from assists, where he's knocking it inside for somebody else from the edge of the 18, instead of him driving towards the six yard.
All 3 of Jota, Salah, and Luis Diaz, 11 touches in the opposition box. But
that's not many.
That's kind of a lot.
I was going to say it's second most.
All 3 of them?
No. All
Each
3
of
of them each with 11 touches. So a total of 33 touches.
I was misunderstanding. Okay,
Yeah.
I was misunderstanding.
Saka had 15. He's the only player that had more than.
Now
those
you
guys.
understand how I was understanding why I thought that. Okay, all right.
Yeah.
If that was a collective number, that would be poor.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Individually, yeah.
And it didn't sound right.
11 each for Jota, Salah, and Luis Diaz for a total of 33 touches in the opposition box. What I was going to say is that the touches, if you look at the touch map, Jota and Diaz's touches are way more central in the box. Salah's are largely on the right side of the box,
which has been kind of the story of the of preseason. That's really what it is. Now, that said, what Luis Diaz is doing, Salah can do, right? He can drive into the center and drift. He's just not doing it as much as he has historically. I don't know what that's all about. I don't know if that's coaching or if that's a choice or what that is, but he is definitely wider than he has ever been in his career at Liverpool, which is a little bit concerning from an FPL standpoint. But I do believe that he's going to contribute. I think he's setting up to be more of a traditional winger. Is what it comes down to.
So will that turn into facilitating though? I mean,
I think so.
I'm saying like he still ends up with 4 shots in the game.
I
so
think
that's what you
but
want.
it's all scraps. It's all rebounds that he's picking up and putting something else in, or breakaways, which he's so fast.
I was going to say that happens a lot.
They were really, really trying to get him in over the top. Yeah. I mean, there was 15 or 20 balls that came from,
what Slot likes to do.
Which is exactly why if the feeling
ball.
is right. But I think that's why Travis was saying if Darwin for some reason managed to break into this team, that would end up benefiting him
a
lot,
right? Because he would get the knock on. Yeah,
right.
I'm sure Salah will make a mockery of what I'm about to say. It just feels like 14 is going to be his highest score for a little while.
I mean, I was going to say last season, how many times did we say facilitator Salah is the less preferable one?
Yeah.
He was creating way more than he was attacking.
I expect
otherwise.
That to continue too.
And if that happens, then he really will be overpriced. You really will be completely fine dumping him for, I would say, definitely Cole.
Yeah.
So that's the guy where that's an easy move down. That's $2.
Yeah.
And I don't think you'd feel bad at all. The guy that I'm like, I don't see how he leaves the team, period, barring injury, is Trent. But I don't know that, like, Jota can't cover Salah though. I know his best scores can compete, but he does not have nearly the season-long consistency. Is going to get nowhere near the minutes.
Trent
Salah
was valuable,
is, right?
Jota,
right?
Trent.
I don't know. They don't have a center forward that they're wanting to play. Darwin does not look comfortable in this system, and there aren't a whole lot of alternatives.
Are you surprised he didn't sub on?
No.
Okay.
I was.
I wouldn't have been surprised if he left him out of the team.
Wow.
What?
Listen to this guy.
Like I'm just saying, like he's not comfortable in this system. He's not figured it out. He looks totally lost, and he loses possession like
Gakpo.
Like
Gakpo,
bad.
Gakpo sooner than Darwin.
Yeah. The only thing, yeah.
But the thing that has not changed is that Jota is clinical and your best finisher, and he's
Still.
awesome.
Right, which is what we said from the very beginning. Jota is the own. Now, Salah played well,
Liverpool's not playing,
but Jota is the own.
This is what I mean.
If Trent doesn't get a clean sheet this week,
Trent
do you feel
great.
the same?
I think Trent.
I mean, he got the clean sheet, but it was against Ipswich. Do you think when
they didn't look like they were going to get scored
to
against
Brentford next week?
So here's my Trent.
Oh, I'm sorry. When Brentford comes to Liverpool next week,
I don't think I need
Brentford's.
They're going to.
We don't need to argue
find
anymore for Jota. Just wrap it up on Luis Diaz. He's not a pick.
Probably not. He is active and will continue to be active, but until he starts actually scoring, I just don't.
If Salah gets hurt, Luis Diaz insta transfer.
No,
really?
No,
he crushed when Salah was out last season.
I would rather own Gakpo. If Gakpo started in his
Gakpo's not going to be playing.
I just wonder if
Salah goes out, who do you think is going to be starting?
Harvey Elliott probably on the right.
Harvey Elliott, who did he even play in this match?
He did not.
So that sounds absurd to me.
The issue is you're trying to get a left winger on the right side in Gakpo.
Put Jota over there. Put Gakpo. I mean, put anyone.
I
I'm just
don't see
anyways.
that. I don't see that going.
Well, let's not discuss hypotheticals.
Let him manage his team. Where would he put them?
Fair enough.
Trent looked great. That was really encouraged by that.
Here's my Trent rundown. Really awesome hockey assist on Jota's goal.
It was.
Why can't they start giving a 1 point for a hockey assist?
I was disappointed.
They could.
Think about that.
3 chances created, 2 big chances created. That's the important thing for me because that's all I want to see him do. Gets the clean sheet. Here's the issue, 2 bonus points. And so this is where all I can say is huge shout out and credit to Baker from Above Average FPL. One of the best informational, like single pieces of information threads that I've seen. Just so many people are good at it, but he did a bonus point rundown after week 1. Awesome. Okay. Just go find it. In last season, first game week, 4 clean sheets in game week 1 last season.
Okay.
24 bonus points were given to defenders in those clean sheets.
Okay.
Maximum bonus points were given in all 4 of the clean sheet matches. Okay. So remember, we talked about, and everybody talked about this.
Changes.
The bonus point system changed.
And it was all shifting to midfield.
It was shifting to the attack for sure. So there were fewer points, or I should say, more points were given to the attackers for basic things, and some of the stuff that was benefiting defenders was backing off a little bit. So the point is, last season, 4 clean sheets, 24 bonus points given to defenders in those games, and maximum bonus points in all 4 of the games. So 3 bonus points went to someone in all 4 of the clean sheets. This year, 6 clean sheets.
For in week 1.
12 bonus points awarded to defenders.
Oh, wow.
0 max bonus points awarded to a defender in the clean sheets.
Wow.
Huge to me. I mean, with the caveat, he's saying that it's 1 week of information. So this is after 1 week, but just those numbers, half the number of bonus points given to defenders in 2 more clean sheets than were last season, which is exactly why when I saw so you see that Jota and Salah team up for a goal, and then you see that there's another goal in the game. Like, you see both of those, and you're like, well, there's all your bonus points. All the bonus points are going to Salah, Jota, and who was your other goal?
There's 2 goals.
Salah and Jota each scored. Who assisted Salah's goal? Szoboszlai. Oh, yeah. See, so just thinking like, all right, well, there's your attack. Not in this game. Trent gets 2 bonus points. It was because of the 2 big it's because of his big chances created, his chance involvement. So what propelled him higher in the bonus point system is that he was part of more of the build-up and part of more of the attack. So to me,
you're saying that could be more consistent going forward,
right? It's one of the reasons why, like, to me, I mean, it's why I wanted him over any other player in the team, and it was why I was willing to not go to Virgil, and I mean, I couldn't make myself put Kwanzaa in the team, and I definitely didn't want Robertson or Tsimikas or whatever. Like, it was completely him. Didn't feel good not putting him in there, and I think this was probably why.
Yeah. Not
to mention, is there still any mystery about where he's going to play? Is there the chance of him pushing into midfield as a not necessarily permanent place, but at any point tactically, is that going to be a slot decision to move Trent into that space?
It will be a slot decision, and the jury is still out. In the second half against Ipswich, he was tucking in and playing that inverted hybrid role that he played a good chunk of last year, more so than the first half. First half, he was playing a more traditional fullback, wingback position. So it did seem like there was a tactical shift to get him more involved in the center of the pitch, and it was very successful. So that said, I don't think that there is any motivation to do anything other than that at this stage. So I don't think we're at risk of him just showing up as the 6 or whatever, right?
Okay.
Anytime in the near future, unless something drastically changes, and I think the writing will be on the wall that they need to try something or sign someone. And I would lean more towards him signing someone than trying him there.
Is there any doubt in your mind that Slot does not understand what he has in Trent? Like, there's not a risk of him. Like, Connor Bradley comes in late in the game and does some attacking things and did what he kind of looked like.
But he looks like a right back, right? Trent looks like he could play anywhere on the field.
Right, and I guess that's, right. I mean, because there was a little bit of concern. The Connor Bradley had not only performed really well last season when he had a chance, but in the preseason he was playing extremely well.
Yeah.
And the question of, well, Trent's coming back late and whatever. Trent comes in, starts this game 78 minutes or something like that. Did he get to 80? I feel like he didn't get to 80.
He came close, but no.
But either way, it was close enough. But that's why I'm saying, like all of that concern kind of goes away. Trent does what he kind of back to again, like the best of what you, with no attacking return, 2 bonus points. And yeah, I would definitely feel different if he, like, I would feel encouraged by a good performance if it was no clean sheet, but it would be like, oh man, that stinks.
Well,
that's like really expensive player to have.
If he lost the clean sheet, would that negate enough bonus points so he wouldn't get?
Oh
2?
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, no question.
Yeah. So then it goes all bonus points would have gone to, and then probably the other part of Baker's thread in there is just to say the bonus point, the baseline now for strikers is like here. Basically, any striker who has any goal involvement is going to get close to maximum, if not maximum, bonus points for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I agree. I think we need to move on to our next segment, which
does
include your guys.
No, you got to wrap up Kwanzaa.
It's unlikely he will start the next match based on the noise that's there. But I would not be surprised if he did, just as a opportunity because of the harsh treatment that Slot gave him.
I was going to say, do you know the quote? Did you see the quote?
No.
Just that he said it was TNT post match talking. They said specifically, we don't need to speak about tactics if we lose so many duels. And that's what we did.
Yes, I heard that.
It's not that Jarrell lost every duel. Many of us lost too many duels, but I think we needed Konate to win those long balls in the air from the number 9.
Which he did. He absolutely did.
And so the actual numbers, this is Anfield in a great write-up on this, just said, I would have, based on the quotes, I would have thought
he was terrible.
I would have thought he lost all of them, and he didn't. He lost half.
Right.
So he was 4 of 8 on aerial duels. Konate was 4 of 5. So that's the numbers that ended, and the real life numbers ended up being just Konate was better on them.
Yeah, and I don't think that was. I think he was the weakest of a weak defense, right? And when Konate came on, not only did he win the vast majority of his duels, the rest of the defense did too. They were more aggressive with Konate there than they were with Kwanzaa there, and that's that it was a tactical shift that made sense because it worked.
And that's the question was this about controlling this particular game and reacting to 45 bad minutes of aerial duels, or is this going forward enough for Konate to win the spot, considering that it was like a kind of a toss-up coming into the game?
Yeah, I think Konate is going to go in again. I think the only reason why Kwanzaa starts the next match is if Slot wants to prove a point that mistakes don't burn you.
Okay.
Especially if you're a kid.
So if you have him, are you selling him?
Probably.
Okay.
It's not worth risking.
I don't own him.
He was up to 5.4%,
which is high for
plummeting now.
4.9,
which is the right is the right call.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure we wrap that up.
All right. Ponytail Bridge. You were talking about bringing Haaland in.
Uh-huh.
For a very particular purpose.
He was in my team, if you remember. I was the only one of the 3 of us who had him in.
Correct.
Last Tuesday.
And then we all made changes.
And then you were like,
no, because
then you went old school psych.
So what ended up changing it for me was that based on the way I had the team set up, it was either Salah, and Saka and some other people, or it was Haaland and Emile Smith-Rowe.
Oh.
It was a 5-5 midfielder, and Emile Smith-Rowe would have been the he probably would have been the guy that made it in there based on all the preseason.
And you're like, wait a minute, these two are going to outscore these two.
And every time I was like, it didn't matter what person I put with Salah. I was like,
with Haaland.
With Haaland.
Yeah, and it didn't matter who I put with Haaland. I was like, no, the Salah side's better. It's like, that's obviously better.
So
my question is for Haaland, if you have him, how happy are you that you got through Chelsea with at least a return, and now you get to captain Haaland for Ipswich?
Yeah, that's terrifying. If you don't have
him at all, you're not even thinking about it, and would you? Did you even kick around how to make it happen?
Oh, I did.
Yeah, so I did. So it would have taken, before I made the cold Palmer, I could have kept Bruno. Remember, I started the season with £3, and it would have taken 2 transfers, but I could have turned Havertz or Isak back into Haaland. And again, I would have had to make a little money up somewhere. Son might have disappeared, or Bruno. Bruno might have turned back into another 5-5.
I was gonna say, if I did it just taking most expensive attackers, it would have to be Salah out and Isak out for Haaland and someone $8 or less.
Yeah. And I just
and everyone that's 8 is exactly the range where I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah. No, look, this week, did Son get anything? No, he didn't. Did Cole Palmer, who is now in my team, get anything last week? No. And, I'm looking at guys who didn't get anything last week. Isak he got an assist, but he didn't go on a scoring rampage. And this week he's at Bournemouth.
I just think that
I don't know. Again, Brian, you said earlier, if you don't have them, make sure you have guys that can cover. I feel like at the moment I have guys that can cover.
Well, I guess my issue is if you're not making the move to it, you can definitely make it up with a captain choice here. My concern was more about City coverage in general, just because
I have zero City guys. And
that terrifies me. But so many people have Haaland and so many people have Guardiola.
Right.
Something happened. I can't hear.
Did you unplug yourself?
I did not.
Are you sure?
That's why I brought it up, because I knew I didn't do anything.
I think it's your headphones.
Okay, great.
Are they my
Can
little
you guys
pony?
hear me?
Yeah.
Can everyone hear me?
I can hear you
still
just
Still
fine.
hear me.
Yeah.
All right, I can hear nothing through my headphones, so we'll keep going as long as you guys can hear me and I'm coming through.
You can take them out.
What I was going to say is I think
You just listen to us since we're in the same room.
It looks better.
2 feet away from each other.
the difficulty is, though, it's hard to evaluate really anything with what happened for City this week, because it's not a normal. It was an abnormal City lineup. Just the simple fact that Rodri's not there makes it an abnormal lineup,
right.
and the fact that Foden subbed in for half makes it an abnormal lineup.
So is that going to change? Foden should start next week, right?
Yeah, and so this is the question. So this was another, again, a plug for Luke on Twitter, just that I would just say he has on YouTube also, Football Made Simple is his channel that's on there, and he has a video how Pep is solving City's biggest problem, and just talked about how basically the tactical shift that he made to create a better, more diamond shape in the midfield to help better deal with not only creating gaps for De Bruyne and Doku and kind of Rico Lewis as a huge cog in that piece, how to create more space going forward to create mismatches and basically 3-on-2s.
Right.
But then also still give enough coverage for there to be 3 defenders in the back instead of 2, so less susceptible to full-on fast breaks.
Right.
So it's a really excellent tactical breakdown. I was going to say it would make you more inclined to try to think about Rico Lewis as an option, but also
I was going to bring that up.
Even more angry though that Kyle Walker exists, because you're already furious that he's even alive, much less on this team.
I know, but Rico Lewis. continues to at a 4-5. My gosh. And if he's playing in the midfield, which he was this past week.
Right.
And he wouldn't have been there if Oscar Bob was there.
I love players playing forward.
Well, it would have been either, you just wonder what it would have looked like if Bob was still there. And
Lewis played a crap ton in preseason, though, too, man.
Yeah. But that's the lack of Kyle Walker.
Yeah.
So that's the question, is whether or not, kind of what does Kyle Walker coming back, does he come right back in?
Yeah.
I think it seems like there's a feeling from a lot of City people kind of hoping that Rico Lewis gets more of the minutes there. I just can't imagine that's not some kind
I can now
rotation.
hear it again. I don't know if anything changed. I didn't touch anything.
Nobody
bro.
did anything.
Okay. All right, whatever.
Hey.
All right.
Is he having a stroke?
What I was going to say, he might be. My plan was save $2 and go Jota to Foden.
Okay.
As soon as
are you doing it?
He comes back in.
Are you doing it?
I don't know.
That sounds risky.
I don't think it's that risky.
What I want is clarity by Friday. I want
clarity for what? That he's starting, Foden's starting.
I just want to know that he's coming back in.
Are you?
I'm not sure that I'm necessarily going to get the kind of clarity that I want.
Right. I
am not concerned about Foden in performance. I am not concerned about him. There is some question about whether or not, and this is Luke's specific question, the way he specifically worded it is, we need to see what role Pep plans for Foden in the current setup, whether he plays on the wing or whether he drops De Bruyne or Bernardo Silva to let Foden play in one of those spots.
Yeah.
So it is not about whether or not he will, it's which. Because it is Phil Foden. It is not this is not a peripheral player anymore.
Right.
This is essential piece.
Right.
So I'm torn.
Which and who knows? By the end of this week, maybe I go Son to Foden.
I mean,
that's an easy drop for
what
me.
I'm saying is it
gives me some City coverage.
And in the City question too, it could be Anthony Robinson or Lewis Hall.
Okay.
Or even Ben Johnson, Ipswich Ben Johnson. The $2.
Ben Johnson looks like he's going to actually start after the injury.
Yeah. So, but I'm saying it's $2 that I have to play with. That any of those three defenders can turn into Gvardiol. So that's the other thing where it's I know it's a lot to spend in the defense,
right?
But holy cow,
especially if you already own Trent.
Yeah. So I guess what I thought was to me a clear-cut decision kind of to move one of these other guys is now because I prefer the attacker. I think Foden, I think as soon as he gets in, he would be, I wouldn't even think twice about playing him the rest of the year. But
we've blown through halftime, guys.
All right.
We are now at 55 minutes, and we have only gotten through 3 items.
We got to speed it up.
So,
I need buzzers. Start shortening the segments to 7 minutes.
I will beep you at.
Let's talk about
beep in because I haven't heard one beep yet.
Let's talk about Spurs.
Let's talk about sadness. And we can do Spurs and Chelsea.
Spurs and Chelsea equals sad.
Can we give Wasteful Player of the Week award to a team?
I mean, that's been done before?
So. Okay. It's originally Cameron Jerome Wasteful Player of the Week award. Now, I believe last time we checked, although we didn't redo it this past year, or did we?
It was
Christian Benteke.
It was Jones. Yeah. So Cameron Jerome, then Christian Benteke.
And Christian Benteke held it for multiple years.
And then Haaland won it. Because he was the... Yeah.
Was it last
year? He was the most wasteful.
I think it was.
Last year was his first year in the league.
I just feel like
last year was his first year in the league.
This isn't helping the pace of the show. But what I was going to say is the wastefulness was about the percentage of big chances missed. And Darwin was on pace, but did not ever... So Darwin, I think, was the easy favorite for this.
And then Nico Jackson and Haaland. He just
did not ever eclipse the percentage. So it was more about, I think, Benteke.
Who had the most big chances missed?
That total is always a striker. Yeah, I think it was Haaland.
Because, And he also held the highest percentage.
But it's always somebody. It's always the people who get the most big chances. So that's the thing.
I have no problem calling this Erling Haaland
Wasteful Player of the Week award
which
goes
sounds
to
like
the
the most
Tottenham
ironic
Hotspur.
thing.
It should go to Bruno Fernandes actually. But for as far as squandering,
screwed me out of beating you this week.
As
Bruno
far as squandering opportunity, Tottenham in a dominant otherwise performance just did not bury Leicester and let them hang around. And Richarlison, Dominic Solanke, both with big chances to score, both with multiple good chances to score. Solanke for sure had multiple good chances to score. I don't know how Brandon Johnson and Son didn't get. Brandon Johnson's shass somehow didn't count for a big chance. Son not on the back post to get the shass.
Unbelievable miss by Sonny. He should have had a goal there.
So I guess that what I'm saying is Porro gets to be the hero briefly. You have Porro on your team, Dave. You do not have Porro. I ended up taking Porro out in favor of your guy.
Okay, which didn't
I
kill
went
you.
up from Porro to Gabriel.
Oh, okay, right. So you don't have. He's not on your team.
So I don't have Porro in there now.
Yikes!
No, I was loving Porro. What the irony of all things is, at the beginning of the match before it started, I'm like, why did we not cover Udogie?
Porro would have had. Porro would have been on a 13 if it's not for at least minimum minimum.
No, he would have got.
Been on a 9.
No, he would have had 3 bonus.
He definitely would have gotten 3 bonus.
I was watching. Trust me, I was watching. I'm like, he's on a 14 or 13.
So he finishes with 9 anyway. Created 4 chances in the match, which was tied for third most of the game week. But he did get an ankle injury. I think there is a question because he rolled it. He was running backwards. I think there's a question of this could be a scan related issue.
But we don't know yet, which is frustrating as a Porro.
Right, and he's yellow triangled. For what it's worth,
and his ownership is 34.5%.
It's really high.
So I'm shocked that he wasn't as owned in our mini league. He was not as owned as much as his current percentage is. That was a little bit surprising to me.
I'm sure they'll get to it at some point, but he still is not added to the injury list on PremierInjuries.com. But the yellow triangles are not going to help your feelings. I would say he's an obvious don't buy, don't sell until you get some kind of clarity. But of course, 72,000 people have happily thrown him into their team. He's the 4th most transferred in, and a near equal number have thrown him out. So
interesting.
72,000 people have sold him. Also the 4th most transferred out.
Definitely not. I'm not selling him. I mean, I'll bench him. I have other guys that can play.
Incidentally, on the selling, new price changes did come through. It looks like Kwanzaa is going down, Rodri's going down, Darwin's going down, and Tony is going down.
Yeah, there you go.
Just FYI, just to correct something we said earlier.
Dave, how you feeling about Son?
I'm gonna give him a couple weeks, but if he hasn't done anything by the international break, he is out of here. That's
I almost blew
honestly,
up my team to bring him in because I was panicking that he didn't have him.
Brian, this week I'm a little nervous because I feel like I could easily go to Foden.
Mm-hmm.
And Sonny looked fine in the game. Do you feel like what do the stats say?
He had chances. Well, the problem is he had one off-target shot. He created 2 chances, one of them a big chance. So that's okay, just not what you want from him.
No, I want him scoring.
He needs to do more. You don't love his rating of 5 from Alistair Gold on football.london with this comment: had a couple of bright moments, but not enough from the skipper, and faded from the game as it wore on. That's the part.
That's pretty much him, though, isn't it?
That was his season last season. That's not what I want week 1.
Yeah.
So that's the part that I'm kind of like...
He's definitely at the moment in my midfield the most movable part, especially occupying $10 No, like you said, I could easily move to Foden there.
To just about anybody, honestly.
And then I get a little coverage. So other than Salah, I can't get to him.
Everybody else, mostly good, I think. James Maddison, awesome. Assist on the Porro
James
goal.
Maddison had a great game.
James Maddison created 3 chances, somehow not credited with a big chance created despite Porro scoring the goal, but whatever. It's not. I'm not.
He got the assist. That's all that matters.
I don't work for Opta.
Yet.
No, James Madison. I just would. I know it's not somebody that I don't really think we talked about him. I think it was kind of questionable depending on what they did with Kulusevski, just because Kulusevski had such a great preseason,
Madison was just so like boom or bust last season.
Well,
and it was a lot of bust.
Yeah, and we talked about it. At beginning of the year, he was a top 10 scorer and felt like an essential piece of most midfields through the first 10 or so game weeks. Then he gets injured, and he just never got back to that level.
And he's always
at any
on
point.
that like precipice of is he going to go down and not get back up? Like every single tackle, every single run, you're like, please hold together. You're better than whatever that Newcastle striker is that also gets broken all the time.
Most I think most everyone was kind of wondering when Bentancur was like destroyed, laying there. All you could see was a 0. And I think the question was like, oh no.
Is that son?
Madison's dead.
Oh, Madison, yeah.
But it was not. It was Bentancur. Wildest stat of the week, the absolute stat of the week for me, 11 touches in the opposition box for Dejan Kulusevski, despite playing 11 minutes. Like I said, Jota, Diaz, Salah, 11 touches in the opposition box against Ipswich. Kulusevski, 11 in 11 minutes.
Can he do something with it, though? That's crazy.
That gives you the idea of how much Tottenham was pushing at the end of the game.
Yeah.
Almost got there. Should have gotten there.
Yeah. All right.
Ange not concerned. So that's
no, I don't think he should be.
That's the part for me that I'm like, I know it's hilarious. They
scored
memes,
on their one
all the
shot.
Stuff, Ange
they
bending.
scored on their one shot on target.
Right.
They scored.
but they all right. So you're right. You everything you said is right. But at the end of the day, they drew odds-on favorite to be relegated.
Yeah, for sure.
In the first match of the season,
it's a bad.
That's
result.
not a good. That's not a good result.
It is objectively a bad result.
So. That's going to haunt them if they want to compete for anything.
Good, I thought they looked up until that moment.
Yeah, but looking good isn't enough. Your wife tells you that. Oh, sorry. We'll just move on.
We've been here with your team for a long time, and I distinctly remember that during the match at one point, just talking about how free flowing they were tiptoeing through the box. Everything is flowing and beautiful, and it's
they
like
can't do it.
They're trying to walk the ball in the goal, and then like 2 minutes later, there goes Jamie Vardy with an equalizer.
Trying to walk it in.
And all the trash.
It's 1880. There it is, 1886.
So, I guess the positive is they're playing really nice football. The bad thing is they're still. It was Porro, by the way, who just lost track. Jamie Vardy outwits Porro for his equalizer, and then gets to the moment of the greatest trash talk of probably will
Jamie
be the greatest
Vardy
piece of trash talk of the season.
That's just how he is.
Is the Eminem of football. I mean, he is the greatest trash talker out there, period.
Dave, you were mad that we didn't discuss Udogie.
I just feel like we never gave him any run.
It's just that he's back playing again, recovered from his thigh injury and surgery that he had at the end of April. I think that was part of it for me. Is I don't know that I fully realized that he was there. I think it's that he's $5 and Porro's $5.5, and you're just buying Porro.
I know, but I would have probably bought Udogie.
Really?
That's crazy.
Let's not forget at the beginning of last season who was doing all the scoring. It wasn't Porro, it was Udogie. Now, yes, this matchup Porro does something, and I'm not saying Udogie had a ton of chances, but
he needs to
let's not forget how he was.
He needs to play himself back into shape. If you listen to it was another Sky Sports discussion with Jamie Carragher and Gary Neville, and they're just talking about the Spurs' first choice defensive back four played 17 games together last season.
Wow.
They played together 8 times in the first 10 games and then 9 times the rest of the season. So the back four of Udogie, Van de Ven, Romero, Porro played together a total of 17 times, and that was 8 times in the first 10 game weeks and 9 times the rest of the season.
Wow.
So there's definitely some gelling that needs to happen, but I think that's the issue, is that there's this sense of like, that guy's really good, that guy's really good, that guy's really good, that guy's really good, and they keep giving up a lot of goals.
Okay.
And they're just not.
Yeah, but I think
there.
I think their central central defenders are really good defensively, but their outside defenders are really good offensively and don't defend
Also, good point. Yves Bissouma not in the squad because he was huffing helium or something like that. I'm dead serious. Like he was out of the team for bad conduct, and then I can't remember what he did. Did he like suck a balloon or something like that? It was something like conduct unbecoming. Yeah, and it was Ange keeping him out and just saying like, "Hey, be mature here." So he apologized and everything. So that's a player who would have been there otherwise. And
meanwhile, Enzo Fernandez is the captain of Chelsea.
Yeah. We're moving on to Chelsea.
Chelsea's.
I mean, we need to because we're at an hour and 7 minutes.
Let's give them 3 minutes.
Upcoming schedule: Super Green. Based on the ratings.
Only
the
one
rating
guy
system.
on the entire team is cold, and that's it.
Favors attackers. I don't think it really favors the Chelsea defense as much.
You're selling Nkunkwho, right? At this point,
That is the single question of this team.
If I owned him, I wouldn't sell him after 1 week. I don't own him, but I don't know what the stats say if he had many big chances. I just say it's City. Like, how can you just my offensive guy didn't do anything, so I'm selling.
Is he even
him.
going to play
when
when Felix shows up?
The first or second best defense in the league, like in the first match of the season. Like, there's no way I'm selling him after one match week.
So, I would I'm not getting rid of him that quickly. I would just like again to give a huge shout out credit to Holly Shand, who we talked about last week.
Okay.
Just to say one of the few pundits vocal enough and courageous enough to say,
I don't want any City.
Wait and see. No, wait and see on Nkunkwho.
Okay.
She's one of the few people who said,
okay,
there's more fitness concerns here. There's more to it than just he's a great underpriced asset who's gonna break the game. There's a lot of other factors here to consider, and it might be best to wait. And
this guy was. You
can tell. You can imagine that she caught a lot of grief for that. But either way, it turns out
Nkunkwho. That's what I want to say.
So
as he scores,
yeah, I mean, 59 minutes. I would say
brutal for anyone who started him.
So
the 59 minutes. You at least didn't even get 2. You got 1.
Do you like referring to some of these pundit accounts, but they're like a character? So like I think that like Prop Joe as like one of the FPL Twitter accounts, I think he's like worth it. I think he's pretty good at what he says. But I'm like, it's not like, hey, Greg FPL with his picture on it. You know what I mean? It's like it's actually like a picture of Prop Joe from the show The Wire, right?
Okay.
So it's like that, or like the guy I was going to reference is
by the way,
FPL Frazier, which I just think it's funny because I'm like, FPL Frazier says, and I'm like, okay,
right,
more of these character accounts, but whatever. He just talked about his thoughts on Nkunkwho as an asset. He just said if his minutes were good, he would be a great asset. The concern is minutes. Nkunkwho was Chelsea's best forward against Manchester City, but got subbed off before Cole Palmer, before Enzo, before Nicholas Jackson. The issue is the manager has no confidence in the role yet.
Right.
So making decisions that he won't make won't make the news the next day, rather than making decisions that depend on the performance.
Okay.
Is his analysis of it. So basically just saying like if Nkunkwho starts, then you feel better about it. Like as long as he starts again the next game, like that was the whole point of having Chelsea by week 2, was to say they're about to go on this run of matches where you're like,
I want them
pretty decent through all of them.
Right.
So if you got him to this point, like
just hold on to him.
Yeah, I just don't think you can sell him, and you're not really selling him for anybody because you can't go really. I don't know. You could go up to Eze. I would go up to Mbuemo. I feel like I would really seriously consider that if I could do that.
Say that for low to mid options. So we need to move on to Manchester United.
Everything else.
Closing thoughts.
Everything else is exactly right. It's Cole Palmer, and you're not touching the defense. The one thing that you could maybe think about is Gusto, as long as because Reece James already injured again. He was suspended for the first 3 games of the season anyway. So Gusto is one of those guys, if you really wanted to,
and you don't
go there, and you don't.
Okay.
All right, let's talk about Manchester United.
Upcoming schedule is 4 of the next 6. No, 5 of the next 7
Why are we
games
talking
away.
about them?
We're talking about Manchester United for 2 reasons.
Mazraoui
and Bruno.
That's it.
Just that Bruno, Dave,
But
you have
don't
him.
No, not anymore. He's got Cole Palmer now.
Well, exactly.
Because he had all that free money.
What I was going to say is, Dave, they're about to go Brighton, Liverpool, Southampton, Crystal Palace, Spurs, Aston Villa.
Yeah, that's not a good It's run.
Not bad for attackers. It's not good at all for their defenders, which is exactly why
they got lots of them now, so it's going to be fine.
The 300,000 people bringing Mazraoui into their team, I'm not really sure what you're doing there.
Admittedly, he looked
Mazraoui looked really good. He looked the best. Until Scott McTominay came on the pitch, he looked the best player on the pitch.
Bruno and Garnacho.
Or best player?
No, best player.
Oh, okay.
And then Scott McTominay came on, and then he was the second best player.
Bruno and Garnacho, clearly some sort of behind-the-scenes competition to see who could miss the best chance. I think
interesting,
and I think Garnacho won that one, but Bruno was close.
Garnacho did not start, by the way. Garnacho comes on as a sub,
not ready to start, not because he's not going to. I feel pretty good about him, honestly. I feel like he was a great choice for stretches of the season last season. By the way,
so cheap last year.
Right.
He's gone up significantly. It's less of an easy sell.
So, Dave, you said, I don't care that Bruno had 2 big chances missed, and he was clearly the most important piece of their offense again. You say, I don't want it, get him out of my team. You weren't going to hold for some of these matches coming up.
If I feel like I have to go back to him, I can go from Son to Bruno.
Okay.
But Cold was coming back into the team. And I would have probably kept him on my team if I'd have known he'd have played a full game against City. I probably would have kept Cold and not had Bruno. I mean, that would have mattered 1 point, I think. But still, it's fine. No, I'm not saying Bruno's not a bad own. I just would rather have Cold Palmer.
You're never going to be able to say that.
No.
That's all right.
That's why I just go cold.
Cool Palmer.
Not hot, but cold Palmer. Because he always does the shivering thing. Is that why he does it? Because he's cold?
Mm.
Did you just get that pun?
No.
I wasn't going to say anything. No. I've been razzing him hard.
I just wanted to make it public. Some people might not know, Brian.
No,
Cold greater than Bruno.
Okay.
Mm.
In my opinion.
He scares me a little bit.
And honestly, it felt like United was a dumpster fire a lot of the year. And so we'll see. I'm not saying they have bad players. I think their defense will get better bringing in DeLitt and Mazraoui.
They got a big 1-0 win against a really poor Fulham team. I can see where a lot of optimism
I don't think that Fulham team's that poor.
They were bad.
They weren't
they had
great.
A bad game, but I don't think they're that poor.
They weren't offensively organized. I will say that.
It's fair. They had new pieces come in.
They did have some chances, but everybody had some chances against everybody this week.
Sure.
So, that's right.
Well, Nicholas Jackson had a big chance against Manchester
Shocker.
City. Easily could.
The only other person that's more wasteful than Nico Jackson is Darwin.
So
he didn't even play.
Mazraoui is 4-5. I think he's currently the number 1 transfer in, despite warnings and alarms sounding from just about every FPL content creator out there everywhere to hold off on making early transfers, but also to look at Manchester United's upcoming fixtures and say, where do you see a clean sheet here? Because he had, I will just tell you, 0 shots, created 0 chances, and had 0 touches in the opposition box against Fulham. And now Manchester United is going to play, like I said, at Brighton, home against Liverpool, at Southampton, fine. At Crystal Palace, less fine. Home against Spurs, not good.
Not good.
At Aston Villa, not good. So I'm not sure where
out of 6.
Maybe 1 game in there that you're I'll feel good
game.
about starting him. You're going to see the green of Brighton and think, I'm going to throw him in there, and then it's not a good matchup.
Yeah, don't play him against Brighton.
Anyway, I just think it was all of his other. It was it was a.
I'm not saying it's bad.
I'm saying it was a 1-0 game where he ended up getting bonus points in like I said,
and he didn't
1-0 where he didn't contribute to the goal, but had
everything
some
defensively.
tackles and some recoveries and
Right.
had a really high passing percentage and all of those other things that ended up getting him into great performance, eye catching for sure. Just not
Right.
I just think it's 113,000 angry Kwanzaa owners who want to get a straight 4-5 for 4-5.
Yep.
That's the start of it.
All right, next, Travis.
Did you know?
I did not.
Did you know that? Did you know?
What a jerk.
Did you know Trippier
The
was
Muffin
like?
Man.
Kieran Trippier started at like 15% or something like that selected.
Seriously?
Yeah, so he's like 139,000 transfers out for
He
Kieran
didn't go
Trippier.
down either, which is weird.
So there's your other. That's basically the other 139,000 of Mazraoui's
Good
transfers
Lord.
in is Trippier,
Wild.
Trippier owners.
9 million people,
Nope.
Brian, to start the season, by the way, in FPL. All right, next match, Travis.
Palace. You want to talk about Palace?
These are three people. You gotta
Palace
say,
Brentwood was a fun game.
do we have an unluckiest player award for the week? Because that actually goes to Eberechi Eze.
Yeah, sure. We can give that out.
Well, he's the unluckiest player of the week award winner this week for a game week leading 7 shots.
Okay.
3 shots. 3. And also a game week 1 leading 1 apology from an official for a wrongly blown whistle that ruled out a goal that he scored. Not to mention the goal that was scored on the free kick on a real weak penalty, a foul
Okay.
called that I don't know, just not great.
Okay.
Eze was awesome and deserved to not finish the game with a 2.
Yeah.
So
Unlucky player of the week.
so just one of those guys. His selection percentage is still really high.
It is really
and
high. I'm not ready. I feel like there's other options, but that's just how my team's set up.
I just think everybody that started with him for good reasons, and you walk away from this match and you're just like, he could have had.
Right.
I don't know.
No, I hear you.
He could have had a better game than Salah.
And his reward is home West Ham and then at Chelsea. At Chelsea, Brian, because you love this so much, is a not dark red, but a bright red in the color coded matchup.
Please.
Anyways, all right, Travis,
Please.
move us on.
Munoz, by the way, gets the FPL assist.
Yeah, he actually looks really good. I like that pick.
The Pinnock own goal, assisted by
Munoz.
Daniel Munoz, who started in 4.4% of squads. I think a very good.
His ownership
Low
still
ownership. It's
still
extremely
4.4.
low.
Yeah,
And-
I like Munoz.
And somebody who is destined to be a pick at some point this season. Mateta started the game.
Yes.
But only played half
There was question,
because he was coming back from the Olympics. So
and Mateta soldiered through.
You
and
had Munoz at one point. Did you?
I did.
You still have him?
I do not. I'm telling you, this was to.
if you're trying to hit a price point, and Mateta 7.5 and Havertz is 8.0,
I can't
Go to
can't
Havertz.
complain about my defense. I just didn't have the highest scoring ones. I had Trent, I had Gabriel, and I had Lewis Hall. So every one of those guys got at least a clean
that's
sheet.
pretty good. I mean,
You're doing well. You
Mine
could have been
was
doing better if you
Hall,
would have trusted
White,
yourself
Porro.
originally. But
Right.
but your goalkeeper got you something. My goalkeeper got me nothing.
yeah, who's your goalkeeper?
Dean Henderson.
Yeah,
like
same.
like a chump.
Yeah, that was not good.
That's fine.
The last thing we need to talk
Pickford got
about
me one.
the
On
That's
Palace. Yeah, that was
I know.
sad.
the last thing we need to talk about is just look down through the list of your top scorers this week and just look at the players who you just say, you know what, I can see it. I could see where that guy can fit in my team somewhere. And I would start straight at Brentford. We talked about, look, can I get anything? Do any points retroactively come in for me specifically saying Brian Mbuemo is a not bad choice at minimum?
Especially considering
Last
your
week.
league. Brian, tell everyone what your league name is in the podcast.
Well, I changed it. I just changed it to Brian Shesquemo.
Yet you don't own him.
The reason why
And
is
of
because
course, and you gave him love to start the season, and then Tony doesn't start, which we did not know.
nobody knew that.
No one knew that. And Mbuemo starts. If Oh my gosh! If we knew Tony wasn't starting, and Mbeumo was in the same position as he was at the beginning of last season when we knew Tony wasn't starting, it would be how do you keep Brian Mbeumo out?
I think you would have.
But he's not even the best Brentford own, is he? We got to talk about this.
I think he is. I think the reason why Mbeumo is not your number one or a top. I think the reason why he's not a top 5 transfer in is because it's at Liverpool. I think if it was at
Liverpool's defense does not scare me.
No, in the next 2 weeks are like he can exploit either one of these two teams here the next 2 weeks. So at Liverpool, I get it. Is at Liverpool, is that a 5 on the difficulty? Is it a deep? Is it a
when they used to have a
matchup?
legitimate 6? It was.
I don't even know, man. At this point, I don't even know.
It's gray to me. I think
agree.
at best it's a gray matchup.
And we're not trying to throw shade or troll here. I legitimately think that I agree.
It's not deep red. There are 2 deep red teams, and then there's gray at best for everyone else. I'm just saying, I don't like the next 2 weeks. I like if you're bringing in Mbeumo or Wissa, either one of those two guys, I wouldn't feel bad about it. I think the next 2 game weeks are okay. Next week's okay, and then Southampton at home in game week 3 is fantastic. It's Manchester City. It's the fact that 2 of the next 3 are at Liverpool and at Manchester City. That is stopping people from buying Brian Mbeumo, and I think that's an okay reason not to do it, but not the next 2 weeks. I think it's strictly away to Manchester City in game week 4 that should
I would agree with that. Wissa is also a good shout. Just the fact that he is doing what he was doing before. When he gets a run of games, he finds.
I would rather own Wissa at the moment, and I know that Wissa pointed this week and Mooney's didn't.
Yeah,
but Vissa's 6-0.
I agree.
He is the better own over Mooney's, and Vissa's 3.5%.
Yep, I agree with that. I think that's a good. If you're on Mooney's, I think Vissa is not a bad idea.
The last 10 or so game weeks of the season, last season, Wissa was like a top 5.
Yeah.
A top 5 forward scorer.
Did I tell you this in the phone? Wissa is the first Premier League player to score and assist in 3 consecutive games. Now, it goes back to last season. The last 2 games of the season, he scored and assisted. He did it in this match. And the only other 3 players, okay, I take that back. He's not the first. The only 3 players to have done it are African players. He's the 3rd player to do it.
Interesting.
So, it was...
I mean, he scored 45 points in the last 9 game weeks last season.
Yeah.
Which is
phenomenal.
the same number that Saka scored.
Yeah.
In the last 9 game weeks of the season.
Right.
So like, I know it's not position for position, but whatever. He was very good is the point. And now, he, depending on what happens with Tony, I think it's a Saudi team.
If I didn't have,
it is.
You think it's Saudi team, not like a Premier League team?
No.
If I did not have a transfer that I had to make this week, you obviously could save it. But if you did have Mooney's because you had Haaland and Isak or Haaland and someone else, switching out to Wissa, I think, would be the move. If I could do it right now without being penalized for negative points, I would do that.
What
Wissa or Wood?
Okay.
Because I think they're both 6,
I would still go Wissa. I
like him better, and that's what I'm saying. I think everyone's holding off. I've seen so many people saying game week 6 for Brentford transfers in. Brian Mbeumo is going to be a really popular wild card choice for people going into game week 6, and I'm like, no, it's game week 5. If you want to hold off and you want to pick a game week to get ahead of the transfers, bring him in game week 5 at Spurs. What are you afraid of with at Tottenham? What is bothering you?
Is that defense going to gel like you were talking about before by week 5?
Not in 4 weeks. I just don't like
losing Bentancur for at least 2 or 3 weeks is not going to help them.
Even
gone for a
I'm
lot
just
of last
saying.
season,
I just think the way that they play. Like, there is nothing that says to me that all of a sudden they're going to become overwhelming. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, that's why I get it. You look at the next 3 of the next 4, and you see red, green, red, red.
Yeah.
That's what everyone's looking at. And that's what's stopping people from buying Brentford is red, green, red, red, not Liverpool, Southampton, City, Spurs.
Right.
So that's why I'm saying.
No,
to me,
it's a good point.
it's City only, and they can be had.
I would love to add penalties be damned. I would love to add Mbeumo and or Vissa into my squad.
And also, by the way, Mbeumo takes over penalties.
Of course.
So anyway. All
right, let's talk about promising / disappointing players.
We already said Chris Wood, so I think that was
promising.
One of those. I think
fits
that
in the promising category.
Promising in the sense that he actually delivered after a preseason where he was delivering, and so Nottingham Forest, escape with a draw. What is it when Bournemouth and Nottingham Forest draw? I'm not really sure what you call that, but either way. But he scored with his. It's my favorite thing. Scored with his one shot on target.
Yeah.
So got one chance, put it away. That's fantastic. No, I think specifically the people that I was thinking about was there's all of the Brighton
defenders, especially Veltman.
All of the Brighton defenders get a clean sheet, but I don't think you're really pushing to do anything. Barco we'll get to him with the disappointing side, but I'm thinking hey, Dominic Solanke leaves Bournemouth, and so the other side of the Nottingham Forest game, Semenyo scores for Bournemouth, a 5.5 midfielder,
right?
Who
should have seen that coming. Took Solanke's spot. Someone who produced last season when Solanke was on the pitch.
Yeah. I'm thinking specifically was it a blank week where I think everyone was on Solanke as a captain, and Semenyo ends up being, or a double game week, I think, where, that was the Kirkes week.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Matoma comes back, looks like the best player in a Brighton kit.
Yep. Great goal.
Looks healthy more than anything.
He does. He looked old Matoma.
So Matoma for 6.5, not to mention an assist in the game from Minta, who we talked about.
But he's out with injury at the moment.
Concussed, unclear about exactly the severity of it. There's no such thing as a mild concussion, so it's all about protocols and whether or not he is fit to return to, not just return to practice, but whether or not he could make the squad for game day this weekend. Are you really enthused about that, though? I don't know that you're doing anything for Minta necessarily. I feel like Matoma is the one that you're like.
I'm still going to fall back to kind of my rule. Is like, you kind of need to show me something before I need to move to you, unless I know your name.
And you don't know anyone's name.
And Minta sounds fun.
Yeah. I also want.
Minty.
I was gonna say I wanted to go back to Baker for his something. Baker from above average FPL talking about his bonus point.
Well, we have given him a lot of love.
I just
and it's worth it. I'm not knocking.
The reason why I'm saying
credit where it's due.
I'm saying this was a significant. I think it's a significant thrust on this account too. That one of the he had the kind of the early signs of potential what he called bonus monsters, and Yuri Tielemans is one of the players that he put on there to say. So Tielemans gets an assist.
That's an interesting one.
So Tielemans gets an assist in the game for Villa against West Ham. I think the assumption is he's taking their penalties because Douglas Luiz is gone. Watkins was so bad the last time. Watkins was taken off penalties because he could not convert them, and Tielemans took them otherwise for them. When Douglas Luiz was not on the pitch for them last time, it was Tielemans taking them. So I think there's a kind of the feeling
probably a good chance
Tielemans is probably the guy that's going to take them, and on set pieces. So he's one of those guys that I just feel like he's a player. You had Douglas Luiz in your team last season.
I did.
It was not a crazy choice to have him for that specific reason.
Yeah.
And I think Tielemans is probably better. I would imagine
because he's doing more from open play than Luiz was.
So I love that. I love that call. I think that's one of those guys.
That's a good point.
So he's 5'5", and that's one of those guys where you're like, no, he easily slots in there somewhere.
Yeah.
And Nkunkwho to Tielemans.
Minta
Who
to
says
Tielemans.
No? Right.
A guy that Brian
Smith Rowe,
who I feel like completely. I'm looking at it and thinking, why didn't I see this coming? Like the guy who'd fit into this category who produced was when we talked about him. It was Joe Linton. Well, Here we go. Newcastle gets fired up again. Joe Linton's back on the pitch. What's he doing? He's producing, and he's at a 6-0. And it's just like, God bless. Why didn't I see that coming?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't. It's hard to. The reason why we didn't even include her, I didn't even think about Newcastle in any of like an analysis thing. Is that the Shar red card was stupid.
Yeah. I know the whole game. You could put an asterisk by the whole game.
So the whole thing gets to me
even with
out.
an asterisk, Joe Linton still found a way to produce.
Right. Szoboszlai. I mean, we didn't talk about him in the
I don't think it's much
thing.
to talk
Does that
about.
matter?
No.
I honestly think that is the position that he's going to play, and he is going to be doing what McAllister was doing when he was scoring, I guess.
6'5", obviously the cheapest of any of the Liverpool people we talked about, but he still would easily be fourth choice.
Yeah.
Or lower out of everyone, but just still like
he will make you think about it at least, but say no.
And then, I mean, honestly, like I was gonna say Adam Armstrong. I know again we can throw the analysis part of the thing out for Southampton and Newcastle, but Adam Armstrong and Ben Diaz. I mean, both of them with I'd say very good performances.
Diaz
Diaz is great at laying on the ground.
And
you know, becoming
but
a
I mean
villain.
The pantomime villain, as they like to say, right?
Yes.
No, but both guys, I think Armstrong Ben Diaz had 2 big chances in the game. Yeah, credited with 2 big chances. Okay. Armstrong with 1. I just think it's a tough game. I mean, it's a tough game for them anyway, and you're expecting nothing from them in a game at Newcastle, and I just think
with a better defensive matchup,
right?
They're reasonable shouts for sure.
Yeah, and then just disappointing. I think everybody went to we already talked about Nkunkwho. I think Barco. I think after all to stand
doesn't start.
Yeah,
right.
0 minutes.
He didn't play at all. Yeah,
and then you learn. Last Wednesday or Thursday where Estupiñán's back in training, and so that was the guy who already it was like well he that was who was presumably keeping him out of the line or could keep him out of the lineup eventually anyway. We talked about Kwanzaa. I just think there were some, and then Bruno Fernandes, obviously some of these big some of the unlucky guys that I just think you're rethinking so many of these options, and I'm not sure. Some of them are warranted. I think others where you're just like
Trippier.
Yeah, but that was
silliness that so many people were picking him, but still disappointing.
Yeah, really high. I do think Leon Bailey. I mean, Leon Bailey extremely disappointing, but only in the sense that he looked awesome.
Active.
I think Aston Villa overall just looked really good. Feel
Villa
like you could have
look good.
You could have gotten a lot more from them. They could have conceded a lot more goals. I think West Ham overall pretty disappointing. But again, Kudus was one of those guys where you're like, oh my gosh, that guy's unbelievable to watch. Could be a pick at some point. Just right now, there's just so many things like game week 1 where you're like, they've got a lot to sort out. And so, but if they do figure it out, I mean, could be
who
awesome.
looked good, and we can easily quickly move on, was Ian Maatsen for Chelsea.
Yeah, he really did. Oh, well, for Villa.
For Villa, he subbed on late.
Yeah.
I'm like, why is that guy not starting? Because he was playing in the midfield. He's listed as a defender. And if that happens moving forward at a 5-0 price, oh boy.
We talked
he was in my team when in my first team that we did.
Okay.
Yeah, we talked about him. I think everyone, any Villa account that mentioned him, I think everyone is equally excited about him getting the starting job. The issue is look, we can go back and replay the tape on Alex Moreno and the number of times I wanted Alex Moreno to kind of retake
you and your boy.
Well,
holy crap!
It's just that he was awesome, and then he got seriously injured, and Dean really didn't mess up, and so you had it again in this game. Dean was fine, and so that's where like. It's the ceiling of Maatsen, what you hope that you get for the best of Maatsen. You feel like it's just a matter of time. But, like, it's Dean, and right, at least for now, it's Dean's to lose. So if Dean does something...
He played fine.
Right, that's what I mean. So I just think eventually, I feel like it's a bit like Yuri and Timber, where, like, when you finally see it, if you see that it's happening, you'd probably want to leap on it.
Yeah, no, I hear you.
So...
All right, Travis, where are we? I know
we're through our 8.
Okay,
we are in extra time,
extra bonus time.
But I will say we're shorter than most of the episodes we've had in preseason. So
this is good. Listen, I want to say this because I know that we talked about our teams and who we were picking before we actually started the match week, and then we made changes going into the match week. So. Whether people want to care or not, I'm just going to go through quickly. I went Pickford and his backup Virginia were my 2 goalkeepers. Muniz, Johnson, Bednarik, Hall. I'm sorry. Johnson, Bednarik, Hall, White, Porro were my defense. Fernandez, Jota, Saka, Son, Rogers, midfield, and then Havertz, Isak, and Muniz front line. And then again, everyone already knows I went Bruno Fernandes to Palmer. We'll see if that works out. I have no idea who I'm captaining this week. Let me while you guys, if you want to discuss your teams quickly, we can then pick captains and at least just act like we know what we're doing.
Well, I didn't score very many points. I was in the 62 this week, so my team is not important. Brian, who did you?
You were ahead of
you're still ahead of average.
Yeah, but only by 4 or 5 points.
It doesn't matter.
Right.
Being above average is good, especially for you.
Yeah, I played Dean Henderson. That is true. Saliba, Alexander-Arnold, Konsa, Salah, Bowen, which wasn't good. Gordon, which also wasn't good.
Yeah, but I wouldn't get rid of Bowen.
Yeah, correct. Either of those guys.
Right.
Or Gordon.
Agree.
Jota, Isak, Watkins, Solanke was my starting lineup. So pretty good.
Brian.
Is it my turn?
Yeah. Mr. 79.
No, I mean, that all came from Captain Salah. And so, but also having Saka. And then a defense, like I said, everybody returned. So like I said, I played all 5 midfielders. I did throw Morgan Rogers in there. I did start Nkunkwho despite the Manchester City matchup. And so I just was taking the chance. I think part of it was...
I don't hate that.
I think
Rodri's not playing.
He was their cover... He's the cover photo for Chelsea in the game day lineup announcement. So he's blowing that stupid balloon. So, like, I was kind of encouraged. I'm like, hey, it's a home game in a Rodri-less Manchester City, and kind of hoping for more. And it turned to 59 minutes and 1 point. So whatever, I can't do it. I had benched Muniz and played Isak and Solanke. Again, Solanke, a good performance, and hopefully can build on that. But yeah, the back line of Gabriel, Trent, and Lewis Hall with Dean Henderson as a goalkeeper
was really solid.
And that's why this week my back 3, it will be a back 3 again with Anthony Robinson, and Trent and Lewis Hall.
Okay. And have you made a transfer yet?
No transfer.
Okay. Are you going to make one? You're going to bank it?
I could do nothing. That is an option.
Okay.
Yeah.
But like I said,
which is not a bad thing.
It's either I would either want to do. I am tempted by some of the. I don't want to make a lateral move on the defenders. I would want to go up to premium. So I would want to go up to Gvardiol.
You're not worried about improving the midfield.
I am worried about that.
Okay.
I don't.
Brian's always worried.
I'm worried about everything.
You're right.
Literally, it's all worry for me. I'm saying that the money that I have was set aside specifically to turn Jota into Foden. So it was to go 7.5 to 9.5. And now, not like I said, not only I'm having a doubt about moving Jota, because it's a home game against Brentford, and Brentford defensively, who cares?
They're scoring on themselves.
Right. So I'm not worried about that. It was entirely that looking at the next however many matches, like this is the start of the like extremely good, like a run of very good fixtures, like at least the next 3 for Manchester City, where you're like, all right, now they can open it up a little bit.
I might take a hit, and I don't know, but I'm looking at who to captain, and I don't know who to captain. And
when in doubt, Salah.
And I don't own him.
Oh.
and I don't have Haaland.
Oh,
so,
that was my next option.
So that not owning them, you can be in quotes covered, yet you might not know who to captain. And if you have them, you easily set it and forget it. That's what I did all last season. I had Haaland, and I just captained him every week, and I had one of my best finishes ever. So
and this is exactly why anybody who put up the money for Haaland,
feels comfortable.
You feel way better this week than you did last week.
Yeah.
So,
all right.
Good deal.
Travis, we did it. We made it to the end. All right. Don't forget, if you've listened this long, you can always watch us on YouTube. FPL America. Find us. You can look at our ugly mugs and listen to us as we roll along. Gentlemen, I enjoyed it. I'm excited for week 2. And for the FPL America podcast, this is David Smith. Until next time.